Well, Thembisa Fakude is a Senior Research Fellow at Africa-Asia Dialogues. He's joining us now from Johannesburg. Thank you very much indeed for being with us. We heard South African President Cyril Ramaphosa announcing this attempt for another peace deal by African nations. South Africa presumably at the centre of this. What do you make of that?
Well, first of all, I would have thought that such initiative will be led by the AU instead of 6 nations. But for various reasons and good reasons, Cyril Ramaphosa needs to resuscitate his image, brand, following a number of controversies when it comes to the foreign policy or international relations missteps in South Africa. One of them was last week on Friday when the ambassador of the United States, Ruben Brigidi, accused South Africa of supplying ammunition to Russia as it continues to bombard and create havoc in Ukraine. So it's an opportune moment for the president of South Africa to try and reposition himself within Africa and indeed within the international community.
The Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov did a tour of African nations just recently. He was quite warmly received. There are said to be fighters from the Wagner mercenary group, which are operating in some African nations. How confident could the group be that Ukraine is actually going to pay any attention to any suggestion that it may have, given its strong and very public links with Russia?
Well, that's a big question, particularly given that most African countries, including South Africa, have chosen to be neutral in inverted commas when it comes to this conflict. Whilst the entire world has condemned, or the majority of the countries of the world have condemned Russia for its invasion of Ukraine, African countries, including South Africa, have decided to abstain. So we'll have to wait and see whether, one, the Ukrainians, notwithstanding what the president has said, President Cyril Ramaphosa, that Volodymyr Zelensky has accepted this initiative. We'll have to wait and see whether they will be received warmly by the Ukrainians, who feel basically abandoned by Africa. So that's the next step that many Africans and observers are waiting for. But if you look at the size in terms of economy and demographics of the countries that are heading this initiative, one wonders why will these 2 countries listen to the 6 nations, notwithstanding that they haven't listen to countries such as China, for example.
Well, I want to ask you about that because, of course, Russia is not the only country to have involvement in African nations. China has significant investments in that. China, of course, has also put forward its own efforts to mediate a peace deal between Russia and Ukraine. Is there a possibility that this might be a way of China and or Russia, at least China, being able to manage the situation and get its message across by using its African partners?
It's possible. It's either China or BRICS. You know that there's that conference coming to South Africa in August. So this might be an initiative of BRICS, including Russia, using South Africa to negotiate and speak to the Ukrainians in an attempt to save face. So it's likely that you have 2 main sponsors, members of BRICS, that is China and Russia, initiating or behind this initiative. And hopefully Cyril Ramaphosa will be communicating precisely what the Russian and the Chinese counterparts want from this conflict, and how do they want this conflict to end.
Really interesting to get your views on this. Thembisa Fakude, thank you very much indeed for being with us on Al Jazeera.